So how does the rest of the NFC North fare in the NFL's top 100 from Locked On?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, everybody? Matt Derry with you. It is a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day on a Thursday, July 17th into Friday, July 18th. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate all of our everyday listeners who are out there. We call them our everydayers that either watch the podcast on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel or listen on Apple, Spotify, or again, wherever you find your podcast. Today is a Thursday, which means rookies are on the field today. Now, there's no media access today. I'm recording this a little bit earlier in the day than I usually do, in the 1 o'clock hour. So we don't have any updates as of right now on Tate Ratledge, etc. But we know this, the full squad will report on Saturday and the team will be on the field on Sunday. Can you believe this? We got training camp starting here, ladies and gentlemen. So it is flat out awesome. Great to be with you. We will get into a little second round pick movement that has taken place. Tate Ratledge has not signed his deal as of yet with the Lions. Of course, the 57th overall pick, but the stalemate of players from 32 down is over. Alfred Harris of the 49ers has signed. Others have reportedly signed, which means we might be getting closer to Ratledge being there and being on time and in camp. But again, as of right now, where I'm recording here on this Thursday, there have been no updates from the team, no media availability as of yet to see if he is out there on the field. Locked On Lions for this Thursday edition is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel. If you want to be our call of the day, we will do a call of the day today. You can go to our SpeakPipe voicemail system at speakpipe.com/Derry, D-E-R-Y podcast page, speakpipe.com/Derry podcast page. Hey, leave a voicemail. Leave today's call of the day is kind of interesting. This is more of an informational call of the day than we got in the past, but keep it about a minute. Don't swear, and appreciate all of you checking in with us. Our everydayers here on Call of the Day. All right, coming up on the show today, we mentioned it yesterday. The Locked On NFL Top 100 Players list is out. The show is out, hosted by our good friend. We just love him so much, Peter Bukowski from Locked On Packers. But it is wherever you get your podcast. It is on YouTube. It's on our page here, NFL Top 100. And as we told you yesterday, the Lions have 6 players on the Locked On list. And this list was compiled by all the hosts. Panay Sewell at 13, Aiden Hutchinson at 30, Amon-Ra St. Brown, number 32, Jahmyr Gibbs, 37, Kirby Joseph, 45, and Jared Goff, 82. And I said yesterday on the show, in case you missed it, when we first unveiled the list, I thought Brian Branch should be on the list, and I think Sam LaPorta should be on the list. I really think the Lions should have 8 players, not 6. We want to get into the rest of the NFC North and why the Lions are favored to win this division. It's plain and simple when it comes to talent and other players in the division. I will explain momentarily. And even for those of you watching on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel, you will see the graphic of just the guys in the division that made the list. It's not that many, by the way. Mentioned before about second round movement. We'll get into that. Von Miller has a new team. We will discuss that and what that means to the Lions. And maybe Zadarius Smith joining the fray earlier than expected. We'll do all of that today here on this Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. We will have a Friday show tomorrow, so we are back doing 5 shows a week. Excited about that. Appreciate all of you. I know in the summertime, the shows get slow. I know I run into a lot of everyday listeners or listeners of the podcast, and they say, how do you come up with material? Or how come you didn't have a Friday show? This week, we're doing five shows a week. So very, very excited about that. And again, we'll do a little training camp preview tomorrow. Take a look at some positional battles. I was on the air with Jamie Edmonds and Lloyd and the folks at WJR this morning, just as a guest, and they were asking me about position battles. And really, the biggest one for me is the interior of the offensive line, right? who's going to play center, who's going to play left guard, and who's going to play right guard. I mean, could we see a scenario where Graham Glasgow, who's the most veteran of anybody on this offensive line, all right, the oldest guy, he and Taylor Decker, can we see a scenario where Glasgow's the swing guy and they go youth up front? You got Decker, you got Sewell. But in the middle, could there be a scenario where you've got a second-year player in Mahogany, second-year player, really a first-year player in Manu, and maybe Ratledge as a rookie? Again, that's a long shot. I know that many feel there's got to be a way that Graham Glasgow starts, but you never know, right? And Hank Fraley, the Lions offensive line coach, is so good that maybe he feels like there's a way that he can have young players out there if they're the most talented players. All right, Locked On Top 100. I mentioned before, 6 Lions on the team. What about in the rest of the division? All right, we had Adam Burke on from VSiN the other day, Vegas Sports and Information Network, and Adam was great. And we talked about how the VSiN analysts, there were 26 experts from VSiN that either write or do the radio shows for them, and 12 of the 26 picked the Packers to win the division. And then 11 picked the Lions. And then the rest were, I think the rest were Vikings, like 3 Vikings, if I'm doing the math correctly. So with the NFL top 100 players from Locked On, how many Packers do you think were on the list? I thought there would be about 4 or maybe 5. But if you look at it, and we'll throw the list up on the screen here, you've got Jordan Love at number 68. 68. Elton Jenkins, 71, the big offensive lineman, the guard, and safety Xavier McKinney at 74. So just 3 Packers on the list. A little bit surprised a guy like Josh Jacobs isn't up there on the list, and Rashawn Gary's a pretty darn good player too. All right, but those were the 3: Love, Jenkins, and McKinney. So you had 3 Packers. Vikings, you had 3. Justin Jefferson at 6. Christian Darrisaw, the big tackle, is back, not injured anymore, 63. And Jonathan Grenard, the edge rusher, coming in at number 90. So those are the 3 Vikings. Only 3. All right. Not a ton from a team that won 14 games last year. And then Bears. Well, you got to figure a couple of Bears, right? Jalen Johnson, maybe Joe Thuney, maybe one of the receivers. I thought there'd be a handful of Bears, 2 or 3. Want to know how many Chicago Bears made the list? 1. Joe Thuney, the newly signed offensive guard, at 54. So we had 6 Lions, and I thought there should have been 8. And for the rest of the teams in the division, there were 7 total. 3 Packers, 3 Vikings, 1 Bear. Again, these are the opinions of the Locked On Podcast Network hosts, and that includes yours truly. All right, so it might not be gospel, but it tells you again and solidifies again that the Detroit Lions should be the favorites to win the division based on the fact they just have better players. I understand that the schedule is difficult. I know the Lions are playing a ton of primetime games. Their first 4 road games having to go to Baltimore and Cincinnati and Kansas City. They've got a tough road here early in the season. Right? It's not going to be easy. But man, this is a really, really good football team with a lot of players that are at the top of their profession. Jahmyr Gibbs by the end of the year might be the best running back in the league. He might surpass somebody like a Saquon Barkley. 1 Bear. We've got people nationally saying, I'm telling you, the Bears are going to sneak up on people. They could win the division. They had 1 player make the top 100. Now, you could argue for a guy like Jalen Johnson, the cornerback, really good player. Really good player. All right. Their receiving core, you could make an argument for a couple of their guys. I don't know if they're top 100, but they're good players. Right. And I think a guy like Roma Dunze, who's not going to make this list because he was only a rookie last year, but I think he has a really big year. I think he's really good. But 7 total players from the other teams in the division, 6 Lions. And Brian Branch and Sam LaPorta should have been on that list. Should tell you that there's still a lot of talent on this team. I know it is very easy to look up and go, Lions window is closing and say some ridiculous crap like that. No, Lions are going to be here and be around for a long time. We got a lot of good players. All right, coming up next, do some signings around the league mean that we're going to get Tate Ratledge's deal finally done here in Detroit? We'll tell you about that coming up next. But first, Locked On Lions are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing. Tigers are back at it tomorrow. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach, all right? My friends have been using FanDuel to track their favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh. There's new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. Hey, you go on FanDuel right now and do some futures bets for the Lions. Over-under on wins is 10.5. Think there can be more? You think it's going to be less? Schedule's very difficult. Check it all out on FanDuel. Are you new to FanDuel? New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. All you got to do is open the FanDuel app today or go to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. All right, everybody, Matt Derry with you. It is a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody. Checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Got to give a shout out to my mother-in-law, the great Mary Kay. Turned 70 yesterday. So happy birthday to Mary. Unbelievable person, and love you very much. I don't think she knows how to work. Check out Locked On Lions on her phone, or she can go to YouTube and watch us. But happy birthday to my mother-in-law, Mary. All right. We've been concerned. I've been concerned about Tate Ratledge. As we have talked about over the last couple of days, we're in a weird spot here with contracts for second-round picks. That is because the first two second-round picks, including Jaden Higgins from the Houston Texans, got full-on guaranteed money, meaning their contract was fully guaranteed at picks number 32 and 33, the first two picks in the second round. Kid from Cleveland, the kid from Houston. So that held up all of the contracts around the league for second-round picks, meaning that Tate Ratledge, as of right now, is technically a holdout if he's not on the field with his team. We've discussed this ad nauseum. I'm not going to repeat myself from the last couple of days, but for you new listeners out there, Ratledge is vital to the team's success on their offensive line. The second-round pick from Georgia is a stud. He's either going to play right guard or he's going to play center, and they need him out there for the entirety of this camp, whether it's rookies, whether it's when the veterans report on Saturday and practice on Sunday. Tate Ratledge needs to be on the field. Period. End of story. And I said yesterday, just give him all guaranteed money to get him out there. Guarantee his whole contract. Who cares in the grand scheme of things? Now, again, many people care because there's a lot of players that have not signed their contracts yet. But there has been some movement here. The latest, it started last night when Alfred Harris, the defensive tackle from the San Francisco 49ers, got his contract done, and it was 95% guaranteed money. All right, Alfred Harris was taken a few picks ahead of Tate Ratledge. 2 picks after Tate Ratledge, Mike Green, the pass rusher and edge rusher for Marshall that many people thought maybe the Lions were going to take a look at. He got a 4-year contract today, according to Ian Rappaport. All right, so Green has now signed. There was one other one. Second-round pick Shamar Turner, defensive tackle, has agreed to contract terms with the Bears. All right, not all of his money was guaranteed. So you're now seeing players taken before Ratledge and after Ratledge getting their deals done. The first 2 guys, all guaranteed money, but now Harris, Green, and Turner all have some substantial guaranteed money, but not full guarantee. This should open the floodgates now for things to get back to normal. And that means Tate Ratledge being on the field. So there's your at least second round movement as of right now. Again, I'm recording a little bit early today at 1:30 here on a Thursday. So as of recording right here, Tate remains unsigned, but it is, to me, it's vital that he's out there. So, I don't know if the agents got involved. I don't know if the teams, there was a big stalemate. Who knows what took place? Especially with Harris's deal with the Niners last night. But regardless, that's where we stand. Ratledge has to be out there. And I've said this numerous times, and I said it on WJR this morning with Jamie Edmonds and Lloyd, and I think Kevin Dietz was in this morning for Chris Renwick. I think Ratledge is going to start at center. I do. And I know some people are crazy, think I'm crazy. Why wouldn't you just start Glasgow there? I think they believe he's the center and they're going to be the best guy, and they're going to, rush him through and tutor him quickly to get him ready for September 7th when the Lions open their season at Green Bay. And I was mentioning before, the Lions road games, the first four: Green Bay, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City. That's a wagon right there, to quote the great Scott Van Pelt. All right. Von Miller, who some people thought maybe Von Miller could be a fit with the Lions. All right. Probably a Hall of Famer. Incredible over the years, especially with the Rams as a pass rusher, a guy with 129 and a half career sacks. Yesterday, at 36 years of age, signed a one-year deal to go to the Washington Commanders. What surprised me about Von Miller, who was released by the Bills in the offseason for cap purposes, what surprised me about this Von Miller signing is that it took place in July, meaning that the team is likely to expect him to be at camp soon with the Commanders. This will be his fourth team. This is a guy that won Super Bowls with both the Broncos and the Rams. Again, was with the Bills last year, but at 36 years of age, Von Miller feels like he can still play. Numbers in terms of money have not been released yet, but look, anytime you can get a veteran player that can get to the passer, you take a chance on a guy like that. And Von Miller is a really good player. Would it be too rich for the Lions' blood? Do the Lions feel like a guy like Von Miller is kind of washed and past his prime? Are they working on some sort of deal, or at least a promise, with Zadarius Smith for less money, bonuses, incentives, an incentive-laden one-year deal to bring a guy that knows the locker room very well into the fray again? I think that's, of course, in the realm of possibility. When we're talking about Von Miller, when we're talking about Zadarius Smith, I never thought Von Miller would be an option. I mean, Zadarius is 32. He's still got a lot of football left. I'm not sure how much left Von Miller has at 36, and he's been injured the last couple of years in Buffalo. But he's going to the Washington Commanders, a team that the Detroit Lions are certainly fighting with for top dog status in the NFC. Philly, Washington, Green Bay is going to be right there. I like the Rams. Some people are hot on Arizona, and a few there, obviously, there's some that think that Dallas is going to make some sort of comeback and be really good again. I don't believe that, but those are the kind of teams you're looking at. San Francisco, maybe to an extent, if they're healthy, that the Lions are going to have to battle with for supremacy in the NFC. But it all starts with Philadelphia, of course. The Lions will see them later on in the year. But Von Miller heading to the Commanders. And again, for fans that say, well, why didn't the Lions kick the tires on a guy like Von Miller? And they need another edge rusher. I truly believe it's Zadarius Smith or what the Lions have right now. And their hope is that Davenport's healthy, Pascal in a contract year has a big year, and one of the young guys, whether it's Mitchell Agude, whether it's Isaac Ukwu, one of those young guys steps up and makes a giant leap, maybe even Al-Qadim Muhammad to an extent. And they're not spending an exorbitant amount of money. They're letting some of these young guys battle it out for playing time. It starts with Davenport, of course, and then Hutchinson on one side, but it's all about the other side, right? But I believe the Lions are going to see what they have before they make a move. But I do think Zadarius Smith will be here at some point. So, all right, coming up next, as promised, we hear from you. One of the listeners chimes in on a call of the day. We'll do that coming up next year on the Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. And we've been hyping it up. The Locked On NFL Top 100 is here. Voted on by the NFL host of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our Top 100 was formed by experts that cover these teams and players every single day. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss my reaction from yesterday where I told you all 6 of where the Lions players landed. It is Locked On Top 100 right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, we've had a ton of voicemails left on our SpeakPipe voicemail system at speakpipe.com/dairy podcast page. I appreciate all of you. I love our listeners, love our viewers, everybody that checks us out daily here on Locked On Lions. You can go to speakpipe.com/dairy podcast page, speakpipe.com/dairy podcast page. Today's installment comes from Dominic, who checks in with something I never thought in a million years I would ever hear on Call of the Day, but here it is. Check it out.
Hi, Matt. My name's Dominic. I'm one of your more like your day after listeners. I do listen. I do enjoy the show, so thank you for that. I just wanted to give you something a little different. I haven't heard you mention this on your show at all, but back in 2006, John Morton's wife, Shannon, published a book titled Wedded to the NFL, The Real Lives of NFL Wives. And she had the blessing of the NFL to release this book. And my wife went out and got a copy because she actually grew up across the street from Shannon back in her younger days. And I read the book too, kind of enjoyed it, really opened my eye up to what NFL coaches and players go through. And as another media personality, I thought maybe you might be of interest in it.
All right, Dominic.
Enjoy the show. Have a great day.
Hi, Dominic. Thank you very much. Dominic Gorgian checking us out and leaving us that voicemail message on SpeakPipe as our call of the day. All right. I never thought in a million years that call of the day would be a book review, but here we go. I did not know this, and Dominic is breaking the news to me. But yes, Wedded to the Game, The Real Lives of NFL Women, written by Shannon O'Toole, came out almost 20 years ago. Shannon is married to John Morton, the Lions' new offensive coordinator. Morton, of course, has been a coach with the Raiders, the Saints, USC, the Niners, the Jets, and it is all about the women behind the game. I guess Shannon went to Western Michigan, grew up in Kalamazoo, as Dominic pointed out, was a neighbor across the street of his wife, and wrote a book all about stories, firsthand account of the women behind the scenes of the players and coaches, whether it's wives of coaches and players, girlfriends, regardless. It's pretty cool. So these women, she wrote, with strength, willingness to sacrifice, and great resilience, these women do it all. Shannon shows how the role of players' wives can be as difficult as what the players and the coaches go through. So there's a book for you to check out. Shannon Morton, or Shannon O'Toole, the wife of John Morton, wrote a book many, many years ago about that. And, we talk about so much football on this show. We talk about the Lions and what goes on the field and everything else. We don't a lot of times dig into what goes on off the field and the sacrifices that, yes, the women make, the men make, now that there's female assistant coaches around the league, whether and it could be men with men and everything else, in terms of gay marriage these days. The spouses, the people that support these coaches and players go through a ton, right? We all know who Holly Campbell is now. If you're on Instagram, you see Dan Campbell's wife posting nonstop. Holly is very open about sharing pictures of Dan and their kids. I think one of their kids just had a birthday. I think he's 26 now. The son just had a birthday. And I know that because I follow Holly on Instagram, right? But during the season, the amount of time that a Holly Campbell or a Shannon O'Toole has with their husbands is very minimal. And it is a grind and it is rigorous. And, you know, it can weigh on a marriage and things. And sometimes we don't know what these players are going through. If you recall years ago, I believe Kelly Stafford was ill and Matthew was there for her. And, you know, there are circumstances with health that go on. Kurt Warner years ago, his wife, Brenda, a lot of things went on and some of it becomes public, but a lot of times it's private. These guys don't just sacrifice their bodies each and every week, but also their time and being away from family. I mean, Jared Goff and his wife, Kristen, just welcomed in a baby daughter Tuesday. Jared's got to be at training camp Saturday. So the timing of it works out. But again, he's going to miss some time, certainly to be around his daughter because they're putting in so much time working on this. And so there is a sacrifice that goes in. So I give kudos, shouts to the wives, the husbands, anybody that's involved with people that is in the NFL, because once the season starts, once training camp gets going, it's a lot of time away. And especially for these coaches that are watching tape at 2-3 in the morning, that basically live at the facility. They're doing everything they can to get any kind of edge so they can win a football game that week. And they dedicate themselves immensely, just like, you know, in any profession, but especially in something like football, just the amount of time that's put in. So thank you for that, Dominic, for sharing that Shannon O'Toole, the wife of Lions offensive coordinator John Morton, did in fact write a book. All right, we are back again tomorrow for a Friday edition, a training camp preview edition of Locked On Lions.